Give me a moment. Ah, man. But this is okay. 5%. Where am I? Have to reach this again. Again, you count your last 100. These are my last 100 plays. And if you count your max, I mean 250, 254. Did I reach anything else? 252, 251. Now, what else? 240, 248, 249. Okay, so that's my 254. That's my 5 highest. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yuki Pixel. What's the best way to get smoother tracking? Sometimes it feels a little jerky, harder to smooth track slow targets. Okay, let me try and answer that. That's actually a multiple part question. You don't just go one thing, it's a series of things that you have to analyze. But let's start from the top. Go on a slower pace. You know, you start slow, you start with something a little bit more simple. I used to start I still do this. I do this today. I did this today. I always start my training with strafe track speed. You just jump onto this thing. Doesn't matter the gun, of course. You're not shooting here. And you just, go like this and you look at the ball. And this is, I start with this every time because it's a good warm-up for my wrist. When I'm starting out, I'm never on training mode. You can go on training mode if you want, if you don't want to, mess your scores. And I just look at the ball, And this is a good warm-up for, starting from scratch, starting from cold. And then you get used to switching to, have to flick to the next target and follow it perfectly. Of course, you won't be able to perfectly follow it every time, but you'll be good enough. So this is a great exercise for tracking, Just this for now. I mean, this is the bare bone, level 1, starting to train tracking. So what would be the next step from this? Let me show you as soon as this one's finished. Just be patient with me a little. Okay, 93. This is actually a good score for me. It's not too bad. Keep practicing moving slowly on the ball with my wrist. Yes, keep practicing a slow, controlled movement. Again, you're not only practicing. I'm only speaking of the practicing side for now, but you have to check a few things on the technical side of it. For example, your combination of your EDPI. Do you know what EDPI is? Your equivalent DPI, not just your DPI per se. EDPI, if you don't know, is the product between your actual mouse DPI and your in-game sensitivity. So you want that EDPI to be within a range 32 centimeters by 360. Okay, do you have, oh yeah, I'm so sorry, Yuki. My Streamlabs is trying to prevent you from speaking to me. It's no fault of your own. It's my fault. I have configured it wrong, and I have to. Man, you know what? Let me try and Streamlabs. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. But let me try and. I mean, 32 centimeters by 360 is not your DPI per se. That's the correlation between your mouse space, your mousepad space, and your 360 degree. DPI, dots per inch, is how many dots do you fill in 1 inch of your mousepad. So if I am playing, for example, you don't have to go with me. You don't have to go with the numbers I'm going. You have to find your own numbers. But I'm going 1600 DPI, and I have 3. I switch, I vary it a little depending on the exercise I'm going for. But most of the times I am going 3 in-game sensitivity. 5 cents with 800 DPI is 4K. 4K eDPI for Call of Duty. I don't know Call of Duty per se. I don't play Call of Duty per se. Are are the Call of Duty weapons also all of them projectile weapons, or are they hit scan? Because I know that for battle royales, they are usually projectile weapons, aren't they? Scan, I think. Okay, so if you're on hit scan, that's a little bit more consistent. If they're hit scan, actually, you can, other than snipers. Snipers then are okay. Snipers then are projectile, while other weapons like rifles or shotguns or pistols might be hit scan. Okay, so here's the thing: if you have a hit scan weapon, you should prioritize, in my opinion, you should prioritize tracking and flicking instead of some other prediction shot, of course, because you're predicting shot only when you have a projectile weapon, for sure, of course. But tracking for me is the winner. For me, is the winner. I think I do well with that. And so your EDPI is 4,000 because it's 800 by 5. That is equivalent of having 1600 DPI with 2 cents. Sorry, 2.5 cents. Tracking 100%, you suck at it. It's okay. It's okay to suck. You can go from a place to sucking to a place of not sucking so badly. That's pretty much where I am right now. I used to suck a lot, and now I suck a little bit less. Keep in mind, I have like 500 hours in this game, in AimLab alone. And it's not like, aim is not everything, don't get me wrong. Just because you can track better than everyone, and you can shoot better than everyone, and you're number one in AimLab, doesn't make you an actual good player in Battle Royale, because Battle Royale is not only about aim. It's most of all about aim. It should be the most important factor, but it's not the only factor. And it's not the be-all end-all, but it's a huge factor, of course. Having said that, so if you were to have 1600 DPI and 2.5 cents in game, you would have the same EDPI, but you would have a smoother line that you describe with the mouse. Because your DPI is something like this. If you don't know, I don't know if you know it. If you know it, I'm just going to show it anyway. So this is MS Paint, right? So this is a circle. Okay, let's say that this is the circle that you describe with the mouse when you're going from point A to point B in just moving 1 pixel. This, twice as big in diameter, would be the circle that you would describe with a double DPI and half the in-game sensitivity. If you notice, the least amount of step that you can take here would give you a lower inclination. So 1 pixel, sorry about that, 1 pixel here. Imagine that this is a straight line, tangent to the point where you switch. So you're pointing here, you switch here. Instead of pointing here, switch here, this is more inclined. This angle over here is higher than this angle over here. This here is smaller. So this circle is smoother just by nature of you increasing DPI and having the same EDPI. Do you get my point? This here, this principle here, also keep in mind, you should have your DPI at multiples of 400. So you could have 400 DPI. Sorry about that. I suck even in MS Paint. 400 DPI. Okay, how do I reduce this? Let's put this to 1. Okay, you could have 400. You could have, come on, 800. You could have 1600. You should not have 1200. Where is it? You should not have Oh man, let me take Excel. This is becoming a mess. I mean, you should not only have multiples, not only multiples of 400, you should have 2 base of 400. So 400 times 2 to a power, to an integer, you know. So 400 times 1 is 400. 400 times 2 is 800. 400 times 3 is 1200. You wouldn't count because it's not a base 2. So it would be times 4, which is a 1600. So times 5 you wouldn't count, times 6 you wouldn't count, times 7 you wouldn't count, times 8. So times 8 would be 3200. 400 times 8. So above 3200 DPI doesn't make much sense. This here is because, you know, when you give, for some reason, when you give one of these DPIs, you have raw input being becoming raw input again, just being multiplied by a number that takes it evenly. If you use any other DPI in the spectrum between 400 and 1600, but that is not a 400 times a 2 to the power of a natural, if it takes anything else that doesn't obey this formula, your eDPI will interpolate or extrapolate, and you will not be taking the raw input from the mouse. Another prerequisite for you to check is this thing over here, mouse. You want to be on this point. You don't want this, which is pointer, enhanced pointer precision. This is mouse acceleration. Turn it off if it's turned on by any means. And this has to be in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You want to be on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 out of 11, yes, without mouse acceleration. So these are prerequisites. If those are obeyed, then we can assume that most of the technical stuff is already done. So this is first step, right? Strafe track. Second step, I would recommend you go on tracking and you do these over here. Sphere track, yes, but a little bit less. Sphere track 90, arc track, star track. Most of all these two, because this is a little bit more chaotic, but important nonetheless. This would be step 2.5, let's call it, just because the randomness of it gives an extra difficulty to the exercise, but highly recommended. These two as a step 2. Perhaps start with star track. I mean, take star track as the second exercise and arc track as the third exercise. Just because star track always follows the same trajectory with always the same speeds. You know, it follows a 9-point star. It follows a nonagon, not an octagon, a nonagon. Nonagon star. And arc track has a little bit of a randomness to it, as in the trajectories change with each exercise. Go on tracking. Make sure to go on tracking, because there is also precision and speed versions of these exercises, which are also, they also have their value, but they're they're lower in the hierarchy. What point do I stop tracking my wrist and use my arm? That really depends, most of all, on what you feel like, because at the end of the day, there are occasions when you track with your mouse, when you track with your wrist, when you track with your arm, when you track with your fingertips. Let me show you one thing. If you don't know this, this is also highly recommended, even though it's not standard aim lab, but it's workshop RA exercises. This guy was, these exercises here were from a guy who followed me here on Twitch, who showed me. I'm so appreciative of him. Stellos, his name. He showed me these, and these are amazing. Especially, most of all, this one, popcorn. Let's start on the easy one. You're on the RA Discord, okay. tracking with fingertip. Okay, occasions where you track with the fingertips are micro trackings. When somebody's ADing or AD crouch spamming in front of you. But their general position is not changing too much. I mean, it makes sense, right? Your arm is going to make a much wider arc than your wrist, than your fingertips, right? Because it's just a much higher leverage that you have. Keep in mind that you're using your shoulder as well. You're not only using your elbow, you're using your shoulder joint as well. So if you have bigger arcs, you're going with your arm shoulder. You're going completely arm tracking. If you're going flicks or perhaps something that is tracking, you know, with a little bit of a speed to it, you would go wrist tracking. And if you are just trying to keep the overall direction in front of the ball in front of you, that would be fingertip. So let me show you. I don't know if you tried this exercise before, popcorn, but popcorn, in my opinion, is the most wholesome exercise there is in this game. Even though a workshop, but this teaches you so much. Teaches you switching, teaches you tracking, teaches you gravity, teaches you flicking to some extent, micro flicking I would say, because as you're tracking, you're not perfectly tracking the trajectory, so you have to kind of micro flick to hit the ball, you know. So RA is amazing. RA is an amazing tool for you to improve your statistics, your skill. This hitbox here, I mean this cloud box, I have to every time put this to black, just because I can't see my mouse cursor, and I can't shoot. And these balls, they double jump. These balls, they air strafe, and so they're pretty. It's such a great exercise, this one. I think popcorn is the best exercise there is. Look at that. That was the overhead ball. The overhead ball. This one, this is an arm track. This one is a wrist track. Look at that. Wow. I didn't know they have now improved statistics for workshop. This is cool. Look at me. 2300, 2900. Refresh leaderboard. Replay. This is amazing. One highly recommended one. You have the benchmarks, I guess, right? You should have, if you play RA, you should have RA benchmarks with you. So I'm playing Popcorn Easy. Where is it? Popcorn Easy. So I classify as Platinum. So I am not, in this exercise over here, I did 2360 or something like that. So there is still value for me. If that's your actual number, there is still value for you to keep on playing this level, RA Popcorn Easy. You could try and jump. You're technically qualified to jump, right? To jump to Popcorn Med. I would jump. Join Discord, so I'm not actually gotten into it yet. When you get the chance, get into it. I mean, I prioritize not I don't prioritize working in the workshop. I prioritize the daily tasks, but that's just me. You can go. I mean, on my spare time when I have extra time to do it on stream or even for myself, I just go ahead and do it because the complementary exercises that are here in RA alone are amazingly done. I mean, this one is the best one of all. I think of all of AIM Labs. If AIM Labs, there's only one thing that you could take popcorn. All three of them. This one is where I'm at right now at the moment. I'm working on this one, but again, that's not my priority, just because it doesn't count on my rankings, and so workshop unfortunately doesn't count on your rankings. So also justifiably so. But still, there is so much value for it. If you want to improve, I would go workshop. If you want to go rankings, is a different thing. It's a different beast. I mean, me going rankings right now doesn't mean that I'm good in everything that I play, in everything of AIM Labs. I'm not good, for example, at grid shot. I suck at grid shot, big time. I have so much to improve and learn in grid shot, but still, there is so much value of stopping yourself a little if you want to improve. if you want to improve and don't care about rank for now, you just jump on some exercise that you can handle at a difficulty level that you can handle and try to push yourself there until you get to a point that you can go beyond that. You know, some exercises in aim lab, you don't have difficulty settings. You just have that exercise and that's it. You just hit the max. Yeah, that's a good thing for you. That's a good thing going for you. So you go there. If you train popcorn, yeah, this is clicking. This is not technically tracking exercise, but still there's a high value tracking exercise here to be done. Another exercise that I like so much would be XY click. This one here, in my opinion, number 2 in RA. XY click. You know, you just have, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. You just have a screen, a 2D screen, and the balls are describing circles around it. But for you to shoot the balls, you have to take that split-second action of holding your trigger down. I mean, not shooting. You know, trigger discipline. Trigger discipline is not only you expect the right moment to attack. No, you hold your aim until you're sure of the fire. Until you're sure your mouse is on the target, and then you shoot, then you commit, you know. So let me show you. I don't know if you tried that, but that's an excellent exercise for trigger. What's the name? What's the name I just said? Trigger discipline, and for tracking as well. Even though it's clicking exercise. So if I were to go XY click. Let's go XY click medium, just so you see. This one here, in my opinion, is a great exercise for, because as you see, you have to track a little bit before you commit to shoot. And the faster you become at tracking, committing, and shooting, the better it will become at tracking overall. I mean, of course, this is not tracking per se, but this will help. In my opinion, it will help a lot. Again, this is complementary. Sorry, I can't speak and play at the same time. If I do, I just suck. My score goes so much down. So 500 and something. I'm not even Ruby at it, which means that I have much to improve over here. But still, yeah, let's see some tracking exercise over here. Precise and reactive. Smooth track is a good one. Not my favorite though. Reactive XY is, or RTH. Let me take a look. I don't remember by name. I have to kind of look at it. The good thing about RA is that they have difficulty levels that you can, you know, follow through. You can go step by step. Once you graduate from one, you go to the next, into the next still. And again, if you just graduated, you know, I just hit 2360 on Popcorn Easy. So there is still value for me to keep on playing Popcorn Easy, because I'm not, you know, 1,000 points above. I'm a little bit above. So I could still play it and try to perfect it, you know. You can never be perfect, but you can master it better. You can be better at that. Keep in mind that there is people hit these numbers over here on the max. There are people for all those exercises that hit those numbers. So don't fool yourself to think that you cannot improve, because you can. You know, you just have to put the hours and be you have to be cold, not cold, not the word, systematic, pragmatic about it, about your numbers. So what was I looking for? Reactive. Let's see reactive and then RTH, because I get confused one or the other. reactive. Where is it? Maybe there isn't. Well, let's go with the RTH, because RTH is wacky. I will give you that. It's wacky, but it's a good exercise in my opinion. Let's go with the easy one, just because it's so it's hard. It's not an easy exercise. This is a higher level, okay? So this is not, in my opinion, not for a beginner to try. But look, you just go here and you keep on pressing. Sorry, let me do this. I don't want to make you deaf. So let's do this. Also white and full. Okay, so now it should be more bearable. Look at that. I mean, this is pretty much a normal speed, AD speed, you know. Someone in front of you. This is fingertip. Or no, this is actually wrist. This is not fingertip, this is wrist. I'm using my wrist for most of the movements. But as you notice, the bot will sometimes flick like that, will sometimes blink to one side, representing perhaps an ability like a tracer could have, or some other character, you know, trying to juke you. This is the easy version. You could try this, but this is a little bit more advanced. I feel like if you're just beginning on tracking exercises and getting used to trying a smoother tracking, I wouldn't really recommend you jump on this head on. I would recommend this once you already feel more confident in your ability to track. You know, once you're hitting higher numbers, once you're tracking well. Look at that, 2100. What is this? Yeah, RTH 22. So I still have value. I still have things to improve upon in the easy version of this, just because it's a hard exercise. If I were to play on the average level, on the medium, that would be so much harder, and I would miss so many shots. I would miss teachings on the game, you know. I would miss the point of the exercise. It would fly over my head and I wouldn't understand. Does this make any sense at all? I hope it does. That's the value of you having difficulty levels to an exercise, that you can, you know, go from the easy to the medium to the hard. And this is already advanced. If you were to try and to go ahead and try something a little bit faster, then, you know, just strafe track speed, because it's basically that exercise, right? It's basically that. I would go, for example, circle track speed. This is a great exercise for tracking. This is an arm movement. This, don't get me wrong, it's an arm movement because it's going around you 360 degrees. So it's going to be abusive on your mouse space and on your mouse desk. And in fact, to play this one, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. To be effective in this one, I myself usually increase my sensitivity even up to 4, or perhaps even a little bit more, and I increase my field of view to 120. Going beyond 120, going beyond 4 sensitivity, I could maybe theoretically hit higher numbers on score, but it would defeat the purpose of the exercise, which is to make you look behind you, to make you look 360 degrees, 180 degrees. So yes, you could go a little bit higher, just because 103 is, you know, the Overwatch that I play, the Overwatch field of view, and 3 is a good compromise for me. But on movement, on exercises that require more looking left to right all the time, looking, you know, 360 degrees, I increase both numbers. I increase sensitivity and field of view, but I kind of get the feel for it. I don't just go and put whatever number. You can't just mess with those numbers and that's it without thinking, because there is a sort of a correlation. because yes, of course, you have sensitivity doesn't really change. It doesn't change the amount of degrees that you're varying with the same displacement of your mouse, but it's varying the stretch in your let me call it a stretch in your screen, because your screen is always a certain resolution, it's always the same dimension, and so what 10 degree angle looks like in a 100 field of view doesn't look the same in a 120 field of view. In fact, it looks smaller. It looks a smaller stretch in your screen. And so you're actually moving 10 degrees, you're actually moving the exact same amount, but it looks smaller in your screen. So you get the feeling that your sensitivity has been put down with the increase of field of view, only field of view. So you have to kind of compensate for both, so that you get the same feeling, you know. Anyway, do you see how this unfolds? Do you see how your question unfolds so much? Just because it's an elaborate question, I mean, how can I get better at tracking? Actually, there isn't one answer to it. It's a multiple part question, because there are many aspects to tracking. I love this one over here, switch track, which in my opinion is not as much of a tracking exercise, is more of a switching exercise. It's an in-between tracking and flicking, if you will. You have to have speed, you have to have good tracking, granted, and you have to have good flicking ability. You know, flicking is the ability of you to, you know, let's suppose that I'm on this heart, I want to go to this heart in the smallest amount of time. The ability of you to be able to measure how much you have to move your hand in less than a tenth of a second. So this is more of a flicking slash tracking in between, but that I love. I absolutely love this one for training tracking. In fact, these two, strafe track and switch track, are the two that I use in the beginning of every session, just to warm up my wrist and warm up, you know, wrist in both directions. This is only horizontal. This is horizontal vertical direction, which makes a lot more, you know. Let me show you. Better shown than sad. So if I were to start this exercise over here, when I am on target, I am fingertip tracking, but when I am off target, I am switching, which is a wrist slash arm movement, depending on how much I have to flick. So fingertip, 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 switch, 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 switch. So these are depending on the amount of the flick. It could be a fingertip if it's a small flick like this, but it could be this was a wrist, and this is an arm. Just it depends on how far the balls are, you know, how far apart. This is, don't look at this. This is just representative. I was trying to explain as I was playing. This is horrible for me. This is completely unacceptable for me. My cut would be, my max is 155, so my cut is 140 in this one. Oh, you're most welcome. It's not a problem at all. I appreciate you asking. I appreciate your sub, your follow, and your asking. And it's so good to have people, you know, come and interact. And if you're enjoying yourself, that's all for me. I mean, that's all I'm here for. You know, to entertain, to perhaps enlighten sometimes. And so, thank you for coming. Not sure exactly how to move the mouse. Just with the fingers. Maybe I'm just not used to it. Maybe you're just not used to it yet. I mean, there are different exercises. A big one. I forgot to mention. Good thing that you said that, because there's also in the training, the tracking tasks, there is not only the star track, there is the mini micro star track. Guess what this is? This is exactly fingertip focused. So when playing this, do not decrease your field of view, because you know some people could come here. Let me show you. Just, I don't know if you played this at all, the mini star track. But mini star track, you have a sphere doing a non-agon, but which is really small, and you're just fingertip tracking. Look at that. Just fingertip. Pay attention to when it goes horizontal. Here, slow. Now it's going medium speed. Now it's going max speed. Now it's going medium. Now it's going to go slow speed. And then it's going to go medium speed. And then it's going to go max speed. And it will go back to medium. And it goes like this. Round and round it goes. And that's it. I mean, this is a great exercise for micro flicking. Micro tracking, actually. Not micro flicking, sorry. There are exercises for micro flicking which are also helpful. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, this ball here is following a predefined path. The trajectory and the speeds are not changing. If you learn the trajectory and the speeds, you can just beat this, no biggie. Look at this, just 100%. Some people doing 100% on the game mode, and disputing the top place. Look at that, 100%. I don't know how they do that. They're huge. These people are huge. I appreciate your comment. I don't know the difference between a sub and a. I appreciate it so much. I said sub just because I'm used to YouTube, because I watch so much of YouTube, and they call it subscribers, so I just think of the word sub, but I don't know what it actually means. Thank you anyway for the sentiment. Man, I have to take the Streamlabs off. I'm so sorry, Yuki. This is my fault. I'm so sorry. You got suspended for 1 minute. Not my. I didn't mean to. Streamlabs did it for me just because you've been speaking a lot. I think. I don't know for what reason. So sorry. I'm so sorry about that. I will correct this as soon as I'm getting off stream. I will turn this thing off, just because it's so frustrating. People are trying to talk to me and they're being completely polite and reasonable and friendly, and Streamlabs doesn't understand that. I'm so sorry about it. This is all me. I feel bad when I see people. I mean, when I see people getting punished by unfair mistakes, especially coming from me, you know. So micro star track, that would be amazing for, you know, micro tracking. What else can I tell you? There is also keep in mind, there's the speed and the precision versions of these same tracking exercises, which will count for your tracking, will not count for precision or speed. Don't be confused. They will not count on speed or precision statistics. They will count on tracking statistics. At least that's what I experienced when I tried those. Anyway, those would be a little bit more advanced. This one here, you could do pretty much at the same moment that you're doing star track and arc track. But let's put it this way: being able to micro, meaning being able to aim with your fingertips, is not as important as being able to aim with your arm and wrist. Arm and wrist should be in a higher place in the hierarchy. You know, you should be better. You should be more reliable on tracking with your arm and wrist than you are with your fingertips. That's micro. Micro is one of the things that you train last, because most of the movements that you're going to make with your mouse, supposedly, are not going to be micro. They're going to be wrist or arm movements. If you're moving arm all the time, you're going to fatigue a lot because you're going to be using your shoulder and your elbow quite a lot. And it's going to become hard for you. I mean, you could get used to it. There are some people who do that, who go super low. It's not my style. I don't do that. I don't know if you would feel comfortable with it. How to track with fingers at all. Don't worry about it for now. I mean, when you're starting, as I said, given that the hierarchy is more important on the wrist and on the arm, you should focus on those at first. When you feel like you're more advanced at those, when you got the gist of those and you feel like confident in your ability to track with your arm, with your wrist, then you can move to finer movement. You know, that's what coordination is all about. Hand-to-eye coordination, let's say, or coordination in general, being able to do finer jobs with your hands requires you to be able to be stable enough with your wrist and elbow. You know, you can't have a steady hand if you don't have a steady arm. Does that make sense? If your arm, if your elbow or wrist is shaking a lot, your fingertips are not going to compensate for it, because the movements on the arm and on the wrist are much bigger in magnitude than the movements in your fingertips, and so they're going to throw you off regardless. So try this. What you see here is what you should be focusing at the moment if you're just starting right now. Then you can move to this. When you're a little bit more advanced, you can move to this and go do some crazier stuff like this one over here. I mean, look at this. I even put my keyboard away. I put physically my keyboard away just so I can have some more space in my desk. And when I'm doing this, I am pulling the weight of my arm with my shoulder. You know, my shoulder is not letting my arm rest on the table. Just for this exercise, or for Star Trek, just because this is an elbow exercise. This is an elbow aim, arm aim. It's not wrist aim. At least at the EDPI that I'm at. So this is so smooth, so you can follow it quite well. Great exercise. Teaches you the combination of X, Y directions when tracking, which are so important. Look at that. $111. This is low. 111 is low. And I'm on the leaderboard. Do you want to know what the another thing, which would be an advanced thing to learn, to try and to practice, would be? This is more advanced, but so important. Is looking at your poles, your North Pole and your South Pole, because I don't know if you ever noticed, but we are inside of a sphere when we're moving the mouse. We have a North Pole and a South Pole. And let me take these. These are two great exercises that were added. I don't know how long, but when I found them, it was fairly recently. Above track and below track. So, oh come on, thank you. It's so nice of you to say that, but actually it sucked. I've done so much better than that. I have some YouTube videos of me beating the record some time ago, some months ago. But I don't focus on beating the record on that anymore, just because my tracking statistics is pretty high, and so I'm not focusing on that all too much. I just use tracking for warming up, and then I jump on the stuff that I'm worse at, meaning speed and precision. So above track and below track are exercises dedicated to abusing your North Pole and South Pole directions. Because when you look at North Pole, let me take the above track for a moment. When you take it, If you were to follow, suppose that the bottom of the letter T, the bottom of the letter T is my mouse pointer. Okay, if I'm looking this straight line over here, because this straight line is horizontal, I'm basically just moving left to right on my mouse, right? But what if I look at this line over here and I want to follow it? When I get to this point, I have to turn the mouse, and then after I turn, I go down. So if you were to record your hand while you do this movement, this combination of movements, you would notice that the trajectory that your mouse is doing on your table is actually a curve. This is because this here, I'm moving my mouse upward, upward. This is the North Pole. This is the South Pole. So because we're inside of a sphere, when we are trying to track a line, we have to combine movements, making so that our mouse is going to describe a curve. If I'm not wrong, this curve should be a hyperbole, but don't quote me on that to a mathematician. Do you think you should get a sleeve to reduce friction? In fact, I have my own sleeve, which is just a cutout of an old sock that I had. I'm such a scrub, man. I took a sock and I put it on my arm, and not happy with that. With only that, I also have a tiny little. You hear this? This is a towel that I use to clean my desk because of the gunking. You know, I don't have sorry, I don't have a mouse pad. I only use my mouse, my table itself. But while I'm playing, gunk stucks in the surface of the table, which when I'm just playing whatever game, it's not important. Even if I'm playing a competitive game like Overwatch or anything, it's not that important. It won't hinder me too much. But when I'm playing Aim Lab and I'm trying to beat scores, it hinders me so much. Just because you pass by the gunk and then it slows you down a little bit. And so I use this cloth over here to clean it and remove those. And I always make sure to be playing before I start to be playing on a clean desk. So anyway, let's go on this. So you see, this will abuse North Pole. Look, so I have to twist, I have to turn sideways as well as turn upward and downward as I track the ball. This is a great exercise for looking down or looking up when aiming, because from time to time you'll have to, because people are on high ground, your enemy is on the high ground, or you might be on the high ground with respect to your enemy, so you have to look down. And I'm telling you, I don't know why, but looking down is apparently more difficult than looking up for some reason. I don't know why, but scores are even higher than 10% higher, even north of 10% higher in above track than they are on below track. Okay, 83. This sucks. First time ever on this one. Look at that, 83. I'm here. I don't use a pad. I don't use a pad anymore. I used to have a pad, but I have a good enough table surface that I can use it without having the edges of the mouse pad hinder me. Because I used to have a rubber pad, and rubber pads are usually sewn, right? The surface of the pad is sewn to the rubber, and so the stitching would touch my mouse and throw off my aim. And so after it rot, it didn't rot, but what do you call it? I'm bad at English. I can't English right now either. I can't math and I can't English right now. But yeah, I had to throw it off just because it was so old already and not good, not working good. It was falling apart. So I threw it off. I loved it because it was an Overwatch babies. not baby, you know, but babes, Overwatch babes, and you saw there behind the Diva, the Tracer, the Mei, the Widow, the Mercy, the Ana, the Pharah, all the babes, all lined up, all from behind. That was the pad. I loved it, but yeah, I had to throw it off because it was already too old. And yeah, I can get by pretty well with the table. I don't want a mouse pad to hinder me. Also, I can't afford to spend money on a new big one because I would have to take a big one. I use let's call it a square meter. Let's call it square meter space in my table. It's not that much, but it's almost that much. Just for the mouse, you know. And sometimes I still don't have enough space with this sensitivity, just because, you know, especially with AimLab, and especially if you go on Sphere Track, because Sphere Track can be abusive on your 360. Oh, it's already tomorrow. Look at that. Sphere Track can be abusive. It's a great exercise. I do recommend it too. I would put it at level 3 priority, meaning that first you start here. So this is level 1 priority. Then from here you can go Arc Track or Star Track. That would be a level 2 priority, which means you would go second place. And after that, I would tell you to try some where is it tracking? Sphere Track or Sphere Track 90, better yet. Better of Sphere Track 90 than a Sphere Track. But this also has its value. But the disadvantage of this one, in my opinion, it's a disadvantage, is that the ball can go 360 degrees on you continuously. And so you will not have enough space in your table sooner or later. And so to me, that's kind of a hindrance on the part of the exercise. Because you move, I mean, this is my desk space, and so it's basically 2 wipes. I mean, from all left to all right. This is basically 720 degrees, or no, even more. But this exercise might abuse it, might make me go here and then I can't anymore, and then I go back to center, recenter, and then keep following. And so yeah, it has its uses, it has its purposes, but I think it's a worse version than the Sphere Track 90. Sphere Track 90 for me is a better option, just because you rarely will be on an occasion that you have to recenter so much. It will happen that you will have to recenter to target, recenter mouse to target, but those will be fewer and far between. You know, it won't be every day, every time. If it's every day, every time, then you are not using a correct DPI or eDPI, better said. Look at that. Above track. This is a great exercise. Smooth, not too fast. Gives you the opportunity to, you know, be deliberate with your aim. You can follow it smoothly. That's the point of this exercise. Learning to follow smoothly in 3 directions, in three-dimensional space. Not only on a line, not only on a plane, but on a sphere, on a whole sphere. So this is a great exercise, in my opinion. Also dumped. My data has been dumped, dude. I don't know why. I don't know when, but it happened. I mean, I remember when I myself dumped my data without knowing, without realizing. I clicked the button clear and it started dumping. And then for some reason I stopped it and so much of my data was gone. And I was face palming so much. Just because stupid me. But yeah, I mean, that whole conversation is about, you know, how you can improve in tracking. This is also a good exercise, even though I wouldn't classify it higher in a priority. This would be a complementary exercise. This is trash. This is trash. This is trash. This is pretty much trash. This is trash. This is gold. Circle track is gold. Strafe Shot is gold, super gold, #1 in aim lab. Strafe Shot, yes, highly recommended, because Strafe Shot again trains not only your ability to track, actually it trains more your ability to flick than to track, but is a combination of the two. I mean, when you're training, you're not training only one aspect, you're training multiple aspects at the same time. Sometimes you're training one aspect more than the others, but you're never only training one aspect and that's it. Burst flick, I never understood this game mode. I never understood it. I mean, I know you have to go straight line, but man, I can't, for the life of me, I can't figure out how to play this. I think this is so wacky that I don't even want to invest the time to try and play this. I don't think it's worth my time. I'd much rather spend it on some other things. So, well, let me get on with tomorrow's training, with Saturday's training.